Exchange. The market will open at 9:30. Lou Dobbs will take us to the floor of the exchange for the opening bell. You're looking at the NASDAQ market site. We will focus a lot on what might happen on Wall Street today. There is tremendous concern how Americans will react to the multiple attacks on our country, but a number of key investors are trying to make it clear to those out you that may not be all that optimistic that they plan to buy back lots of their own stock to show you the level of faith they have in the value of their companies. Workers in New York are just beginning to stream into this area. It is difficult to get here. You see this debris field now, some 22,000 tons of rubble already removed. The rescue effort painstaking. In some cases, workers are not only digging but using their own hands to deliver small particles of debris into buckets, and then that is in turn transferred to vehicles. The beautiful shot, of course, of the Statue of Liberty looking north towards Manhattan skyline, a skyline that has been so severely altered by last Tuesday's attacks. Now, the difficulty for workers this morning is that there are a number of police checkpoints they must go through before they even get close to the perimeter of their offices. So it will not be easy for them. Many companies offering paper face masks for their employees to wear to work today. Many workers defiantly coming to work today, waving flags in their hands, showing the resolve of the workforce here to show that America is on the mend and New York is rebuilding. Let me really quickly check in with some of the folks you're going to see throughout the morning. John King joins us again from near the Capitol in Washington. Good morning again, John. Also with us this morning, Miles O'Brien from Atlanta, who will bring us up to date on all the investigative leads that we are getting right now. And Bill Hemmer, of course, will be stationed outside the New York Stock Exchange all morning to give us a better idea of how workers are reacting to their inalterably changed city. Let's first start off with Miles, who's going to give us the latest on the investigation. Miles?
Good morning, Paula. Here are the latest developments in America's new war. A high-level Pakistani delegation is now in Afghanistan, telling Afghans they have 72 hours to hand over Osama bin Laden or face the wrath of the United States. U.S. stock markets reopened this morning, as Paula was telling you, after the longest pause in trading since the Great Depression. President Bush says it is time for Americans to go back to work. 2 new arrest warrants have been issued for so-called material witnesses in last Tuesday's terrorist attacks. 2 other witnesses already in custody. And 4,957 people are still missing in New York City, where the World Trade Center was destroyed by the suicide hijackers. 190 people are now confirmed dead. At the Pentagon, 186 people are missing in that hijack attack. 2 deaths have been confirmed there. Let's send it back to Paula in New York.
Okay, thanks so much, Miles. We had promised you an interview with Victor Lager earlier. We were having some problem with audio, but we've gotten that all to work. Victor Lager was one of the first uniformed police officers to arrive on the scene. He unfortunately has suffered a personal toll, as have most people in this country. He lost his partner that day. Victor, I really appreciate your being with us this morning. I understand why you do not want to be up here with me. I am told that it's just too painful for you to see any reminder of what you've been through. Again, thanks for allowing us to share your story with our audience. Can you describe to us where you were when you got the first call on Tuesday?
We were on 7th Avenue South and Grove Street, watching the first plane fly southbound.
And did you think anything was unusual at that time?
Oh, yes. Me and my partner thought that was very unusual to see such a large aircraft fly so low. And we just hoped it would pass all the buildings.
What did you see next?
We saw the plane fly directly southbound right into One World Trade Center, and we just couldn't believe what we saw.
So you saw the actual explosion then?
Yeah.
And at that point, did your instincts guide you straight downtown?
Straight down there. I was driving, my partner was revving me on, and we got there within a minute or so. Pulled up right in front of VC Street, in front of 7 World Trade Center.
And describe to us what you saw when you got there.
There was debris flying all over the place from the initial impact. There was people already fleeing the building. We went in through 7 World Trade Center. There was some glass doors. I remember going downstairs into a sub-basement mall, and there were people already fleeing from One World Trade Center through the lobby into the mall. and as well as people coming up from the PAD train, we're hearing the screams and the smoke starting to fill up the mall, and we're also beginning to panic.
We're looking at some pictures now of the evacuation after the first tower collapsed. Even before that, there was a state of panic. Describe to us how people treated each other as they were trying to flee the building before it collapsed.
Everybody was in fear of their life. It was just complete chaos. We tried to keep some order. We tried to keep people calm. It didn't seem to help. The more the smoke filled into the mall, the more the smoke filled into 2 World Trade Center, the more panicky people got, and it was even harder to control them. People were getting trampled. People were getting severely hurt. People were having heart attacks and complaining of chest pains. People just didn't even move out of fear.
Is it true that people actually, in this state of panic, knocked over folks in wheelchairs?
Yes. I don't think anybody at this stage was truly in control of their emotional state. I think at that point they triggered a survival instinct, and their only main concern was to get out.
You and your partner had worked together for about 10 years. At what point in this process did you become separated?
Immediately when we went into the mall, in the sub-basement that connects the 2 towers, there were people injured already. And I was in there with 2 Port Authority police and a transit cop, and we were picking people up. Immediately, I would say a minute after that, 2 minutes after that, 4 firefighters ran in. And one of the firefighters had about 4 or 5 tanks on his back, and my partner immediately, it was his instinct to grab these tanks and help this fireman with him. And he turned over to me and he said to me, you know, Vic, you stay with these people here. You have a lot of help. I'm going to help these guys. They need some more help. I'm going to go upstairs and see if we can save some people, and I'm going to run down here and meet you. And of course, I totally disagreed, and I stated, you know, I didn't want him to go in there. I said he had no fire protection. He had no mask to breathe. The smoke was unbelievably thick coming out of One World Trade, and I was really concerned. And he had no fear, and he told me he'd be all right, and that FD was assuring him that the building was stable. At that point, we just thought it was an accident, and he seemed pretty confident, and he made me feel pretty confident that everything was going to be okay.
At what point did you realize you had lost James? And we're going to put up a picture of James and the 3 sons he has left behind.
After the second plane hit my building, and I was in the lobby, we didn't really initially know what happened. We feared for our lives at that point. Pieces of the interior of the building were coming down. People were already being killed. Within minutes, we realized the building wasn't collapsing, Tower 2. We ran out, and I proceeded across the intersection, and we just couldn't believe what we were seeing. The civilians who were watching started screaming to us it was another plane, and I knew it wasn't an accident at this point. My partner was raising me on the radio somewhere near the 28th floor with 20 people that they had rescued from offices, and he was with some firefighters. And I explained to him, I said, this is no accident. This is another plane that hit the second tower. And I explained to him, I said, Jimmy, you have to get out there. Get out of that building as fast as you can. And very calmly, he said to me, don't worry. We're going to be all right. The buildings are stable. FD's telling me it's stable. We got 20 people here. He said, Vic, just meet me downstairs. I'll be down there. And within minutes, I felt the ground start to shake from Tower 2. At that point, we knew this building was coming down, and you just started running for your life. You started running, basically, from West Street. You ran to the ferry because you can hear the horn of the ferry, and that was your guide. Because when the debris started coming down and the smoke started filling the air, you really basically couldn't see. And this whole time, my partner was still alive. It wasn't until I would say 25 minutes later, or I couldn't even give you a time because there was no more time. There was no essence of time. That I heard my partner start calling my name again after the first building came down, and he started asking me, "What's going on? What's that noise?" And I started, screaming on the radio, "You have to get out of there. You have to run as fast as you can, Jimmy. The building just came down. You have to get out of there." And at that point, you can hear him in his voice, little sense of panic, but more of that he was running in the stairwell. And you can hear the people in the background. And not much longer after that, after he was calling my name continuously, and the building came down, and I couldn't hear him anymore. And I remember trying to call him, even an hour or two later, still trying to raise him on the air, thinking that he might have made it out, and I didn't hear anything.
And Victor, so many police officers and firefighters lost their lives that way, going into the buildings when everybody else was coming out.
When
We
that
are
building-
trained to do that.
When that building came down, anybody who was in a few feet from that building was sucked in. And it was just devastating. Anybody who was going in, anybody who was inside, anybody who was just standing around a few feet was just totally wiped out.
Well, Victor, we really appreciate your sharing your story with us this morning. We are so sorry about what happened, and wish you a lot of luck as you try to rebuild your own life. Thank you very much for dropping by. Let's head back down now to where business is getting underway on Wall Street. We find Lou Dobbs once again on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange, along with its chairman, Dick Grasso. Hi again, Lou.
Hi, Paula, and as you say, I'm here with Dick Grasso, the chairman of the New York Exchange, some 6 days after the devastation of the terrorist attack here in New York. You're up. A lot of people were skeptical, Dick, about whether or not you would be able to pull this off. Your opening now scheduled just about 19 minutes. You're absolutely confident.
We are totally confident, Lou, that at 9:30 that bell will ring. America will be back to business, and America's greatest capital market will be the lead in doing that. We'll send an important message to the criminals they've lost.
When Mr. Grasso says the world's largest, it is the world's largest by several factors, some $13 trillion in market capital here. As I walk around, and Dick, it's been a few months since I've been down here, I'm amazed at the number of people who have American flags sewn on their Docker jackets, the number of flags posted on the booths, the spirit. I'm used to these gentlemen slapping each other on the back occasionally and shaking hands, but they're giving each other real hugs and sincere hugs.
Lou, this is a true epicenter of patriotism. Our president came last week to really send a message to all Americans, and certainly to those New Yorkers, those who were lost at the Pentagon and in Pennsylvania, that you can destroy and take innocent lives, but you cannot destroy the American way of life. And these people will rally this morning as comrades in arms, as one America, just as our politicians have come together, put aside their differences. This is a time of, I think, special opportunity for all Americans.
Dick, I'm just curious. At this point, we're seeing a number of indications of strength in the overseas markets. We have seen actually turn positive both in London and in Frankfurt. What are your early indications here for what kind of market we're going to see on the New York Exchange?
Well, Lou, I think everyone realizes and remembers that in times past, when America has been challenged, be it from an economic standpoint or from a political standpoint, this nation has unified, has come together, and we will do that again. This economy is the leader of the 21st century global economy, so there may be some short-term dislocations because of this heinous crime, but in the long term, Lou, betting on America has always been a great bet.
And you have made certain in your expressions here publicly that the New York Stock Exchange is not talking about stopping selling, but rather making certain that people are able to exercise their investment decisions, sell or buy. You just want a free and efficient market, right?
This is free market capitalism, Lou, at its finest. And again, if you look back to those who react emotionally in times past when this country has been challenged, they've been wrong. You have to be, as an American, very proud of what our president has done, very proud of the leadership in the Federal Reserve, in the Treasury, in the SEC, and all in the financial sector who have come together, put aside petty jealousies, and said, we're going to send a message to these criminals. They cannot destroy the American way of life. They can't destroy this economy, and this great market will lead us to higher and more productive levels in the future.
And as Dick Grasso understood almost sooner than anyone else, this is the epicenter of a global financial market. And Dick, I know you're going to be pleased to know